fascinated. My dad is now a retired lawyer. At the time, I was like in university or something, and I was like, Dad, you should go into internet law. Internet law did not exist. And my dad was like, shut up, basically, right? Eat your dinner or whatever he said, right? And that, it's funny because since then, internet law and all the laws surrounding all laws is such a booming, business. And that's how I feel about law with respect to coronavirus. I think that, I don't know if you can refer to different branches of the law as genres, but if you can, then coronavirus law is a genre. Right. There's going to be, because there's so many interesting legal debates about, is this a violation of your rights and freedoms, right? Like, is this against the charter? Do we need a new charter? Is it like, I just think you could start a practice that only focuses on coronavirus law and become a millionaire. And the truth is there's no answer. It's just a series of sort of fascinating, unprecedented debates
that people can profit from in a major way if they win the debate.
Yeah, but some of them are also valid, right? It's not even just like.
Yeah, we're not talking about those things.
It's not well, but it's an interesting thing, right? Like, yes, you can make all this money, and strictly from a law as a business, coronavirus law, and as you're saying, there's a lot of things you can do. You just keep that machine rolling. But at the same time, it is interesting because you have countries all around the world. They're all set up in sort of different political hierarchies, and they all are sort of affected, right? And so you don't. The right to protest, for example, it's like, oh, you're denying our right to protest. And it's like, yeah, but if your right to protest could kill people, like you could literally, you're talking about that Trinity Bellwoods Park, and they're saying this on the news. And this is the point that I made that Lou astutely brought up for, me bringing up previously.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for that. Wow. Okay. I was wondering what that was.
Oh yeah, I gotta say something. But they're saying, you could start that event might have started a second wave, right? Yeah. Like we're like a big barbecue away from starting a second wave every day, every hour, all around the world, all the time, right, until there's a vaccine.
Yeah. I truly hope the next spike is a poorly planned Ford Fest. That's what I want to happen.
I mean, this becomes really interesting when you look at, to Bobby's point. Yeah, okay. No, nothing. When you look at tyrannical governments, right? Dictatorships, how they react to issues of protest versus what went on in Trinity Bellwoods, where no one was shot, no one was tear gassed, you're given a ticket. I mean, there's so many variations on how force and law is applied internationally that I have no idea where this is. And if it gets worse, where we're going to end up, right? Like, is a ticket going to be enough, or is it, horse cops with clubs coming next?
Oh, there's going to be lawsuits or criminal cases in about, between the next year and 2 to 3 years that are going to make themselves through the courts, where somebody knew they had COVID, didn't tell, had sex with somebody, or knew they had COVID, moved in. There was a nurse in Ottawa who was kicked out of her house because the landlord didn't want to have a nurse there who could bring COVID into her house.
Right. What if someone knows that they have coronavirus and they decide, instead of getting a gun and killing everyone, they're going to go into every single grocery store in their city and go into every aisle all day? Yeah. Is that person the biggest serial killer in history?
And then you could have a lawyer say, well, we've got a study that says coronavirus doesn't survive on surfaces, so therefore the client's innocent.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, and what you were saying about the legal changes around responsibility, right? And where it comes together with mental health.
Yeah.
Now, and this goes back to those guys that killed the jogger. Right? Can a case be made that they are suffering the 3 or 2 of them are suffering from long-term
Obama
mental
gate?
illness.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
You can
So
try.
it becomes really interesting, that intersection of law, mental illness, and responsibility.
It would be nice if we could get a study that says MAGA is a mental illness.
Yeah. Well, you know,